I never expected a simple letter to change my life. But that was before I met the stranger who stole my heart without ever showing his face. My name is Ava, and this story begins on a cold evening, the kind that makes loneliness sit heavily on your chest. I had just moved into a small apartment on Willow Street after a painful breakup. The kind that empties you, breaks you, and forces you to start over even when you don't feel ready. Every night, after work, I sat at my tiny wooden desk and wrote letters. Not to my ex. Not to anyone I knew. I wrote letters to my future husband. Letters filled with hope, fear, dreams, and sometimes tears. Some nights I wrote about how much it hurt to be alone. Other nights, I wrote about the love I hoped would someday find me. When each letter was done, I sealed it neatly and slipped outside to an old, abandoned mailbox behind my building. It was rusty, faded, and clearly unused. But dropping my letters into it made me feel like I was sending my heart into the universe. I didn't know someone was reading them. Everything changed on an ordinary Tuesday. I opened my mailbox to find an envelope addressed to me. No stamp. No return address. Just my name, written in elegant, careful handwriting. Inside was a single message. Your heart writes beautifully. A stranger. My breath caught. Who would reply? How did he see my letters? I tried to ignore it. Tried to pretend it was nothing. But the next day, there was another letter. And another. And another. His words were gentle. Soft. Understanding. The kind of words that feel like warm hands holding your broken pieces together. He never flirted. Never pressured. He simply wrote like someone who understood loneliness too well. And he always signed off the same way. The stranger. Days turned into weeks. And slowly, something unexpected happened. I started to heal. I woke up excited. Went through my days smiling. Came home eager to see if a new letter waited for me. They became my light. These handwritten pieces of a soul I had never seen. The stranger told me things that made my heart soften. He wrote about hope. About pain. About growing from the things that try to destroy us. He told me I deserved gentleness and love that didn't hurt. Somehow, without knowing his face or his voice, I began to fall for him. Not for fantasy. Not for imagination. For his words. His sincerity. The quiet honesty in every line he wrote. But I had questions. Who was he? Where did he read my letters? Why did he write? And what was he hiding? So one evening, I wrote him a simple note. Who are you? He replied the next day. Some things are sweeter when kept secret. But when the time is right, you'll know. The stranger. His mystery pulled me closer. But then, everything changed. The letters stopped. 1 day passed. Then 3. Then a week. Nothing. The mailbox stayed empty, no matter how many times I checked it. It felt like losing something precious. Someone I had never truly met, yet deeply cared about. I didn't know it then. But the stranger had problems of his own. His name was Ethan. A quiet, gentle artist who lived in the same building as me. On the 4th floor, just above mine. He wasn't watching me. He wasn't trying to deceive me. He was just lonely. The abandoned mailbox I'd been using? He had repaired it months earlier for a small art project. That was how he found my first letter. And my second. And my third. My words touched him in ways he didn't expect. They made him feel something he had forgotten. Connection. He replied not to manipulate me, but because he understood heartbreak. And because my letters felt like conversations with someone who saw the world the way he did. But when he realized I was falling for his words, fear took over. How do you tell a girl she's already seen you without knowing? How do you confess that you've passed her in the hallway, held the elevator door for her once, smiled at her in the lobby, and she never connected the dots? How do you admit that you fell in love before you ever said hello? So Ethan pulled back. Not because he didn't care, but because he cared too much. One chilly evening, after days of silence, I went behind the building to the abandoned mailbox. Not to drop a letter, but to say goodbye to a habit that had once healed me. That was when I noticed the mailbox was slightly open. Inside was a sketchbook. Curious, I pulled it out and flipped through the pages. My heart stopped. It was filled with drawings of me. Not stalkerish, not creepy. but soft, gentle sketches. My posture as I dropped letters into the mailbox. My silhouette walking away. My smile the one time I had looked up at the sky. There were also letters. Letters he had written but never sent. One page had only 2 lines. I wish I could tell you who I am, but I'm afraid I'm not what you expect. Just then, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned. A young man stood there. Tall, gentle eyes, art pencils sticking out of his hoodie pocket. His face was nervous. Soft. Familiar. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't mean to disappear. I just didn't know if I deserved the way you wrote about love." My heart trembled. "You're the stranger?" He nodded slowly. Ethan didn't move closer. He didn't touch me. He simply stood there, vulnerable, waiting for rejection. But all I felt was the warmth that lived in his letters. "I fell for your words," I said softly. "And now that I see you, I understand them even better." He finally breathed. And in that quiet moment, beneath the dim light near the abandoned mailbox, our story truly began. Not with a kiss, not with a grand gesture, but with 2 hearts, broken in different ways, finding each other through words. And that is how a stranger, a man I had never seen, never heard, never touched, stole my heart, with nothing but his letters.